How's it going, YouTube? Reed here, back with another video. So today's video is going to be a quick and simple guide to the PostFX filters that they've recently implemented into Tarkov with the 12.5 update. I know some people were slightly overwhelmed with what they should be setting these filters to, so I figured I'd make a video dedicated to that. This video is going to be broken up into two main parts. In the first part, I'm just going to directly show you guys what my PostFX filters are set to. I've gotten the game looking pretty vibrant and colorful while still looking somewhat realistic. It's not too cartoony. So if you like the way my game looks, you can just throw on my PostFX filters and go from there. I'm also going to show directly what my graphics settings are, as your PostFX filters will be slightly dependent on what your graphics settings are set to. And that will also serve as a small update to the original settings guide I did at the start of the 0.12 update. So you guys can take a look at my graphics settings for optimal performance, and then also my PostFX filters. In the second part of the video, I'm going to do a little bit more of a detailed discussion, filter by filter, of all of the different PostFX filter options there are, and go a little bit in depth on what each one will do for you. There is a visualization option that allows you to adjust the sliders while looking at the game still, and things are pretty straightforward on what each slider will do, but we'll still do a small in-depth discussion for each one. So let's go ahead and just quickly take a look at my graphics settings. As a reference, I'm running an i7 6700K at 4 GHz alongside 16 GB of RAM and a GTX 1070 superclock GPU. If you have a more powerful system, you might be able to get away with more intensive settings, though I found that these settings make the game still look great and run really well. If you would like to uncap your FPS, feel free to check the VSync box and then make sure that vertical sync is off in your 3D settings in the NVIDIA control panel, and this will unlock your FPS. And you guys can see that I'm actually getting some really good FPS right now, 111. 110 looking down at the gas station. That's pretty good. I'll take that. So I've gotten things running pretty great. Everybody's going to have stutters in Tarkov, but these settings are really going to make things run as smooth as possible, I found. So I do run Anisotropic Filtering on. This is going to add slight shadows around some of the objects' outlines in the game. It makes things look nice. And I keep my sharpness at 0.4. There's going to be tons of sharpness settings in our PostFX, but I've always had this set to 0.4, so I kind of just worked around it. Other than that, I keep my shadow set to low. I keep my level of detail set to low. Overall visibility pretty low. Most engagements in Tarkov are happening at really close ranges anyways, so a lot of this doesn't matter too much. But I keep a lot of this garbage off to make the game look nice and clean and run pretty smooth. All right, so let's take a look at my PostFX filters. So again, if you're somebody that likes the way my game looks and you just want to go ahead and screenshot these and throw them on, feel free to do so. But we'll go kind of one by one and just do a quick explanation of what each one is going to do to your game. So brightness is pretty straightforward. It's going to increase the overall brightness of the appearance of the game. I haven't seen a need to adjust this one though, as some of these other filters are going to give you some brightness. Tarkov's really dark, but you're going to get some brightness out of some of these other settings. So the next two we'll take a look at is saturation and colorfulness. A lot of people get these confused. The technical difference is that saturation is the intensity of color relative to its own brightness. So when I adjust this, you're going to see the game actually get slightly brighter through some of those pixels. Whereas colorfulness, on the other hand, is a intensity of a pixel's color relative to gray. So there isn't as much brightness added, but there is more of a vibrance added. So brightness doesn't change as much, but the color intensity will. So that's just a quick explanation of the difference between saturation and colorfulness. Clarity, they've implemented very close to contrast. So when I adjust this slider, you're actually going to see the contrast change. Look at how the darks on the rifle get darker and the highlights or the lights on the gun get lighter. So this is pretty much your contrast setting. I've left this at 75. Makes things look pretty good and pop real well. And then last but not least, in our first section here is our sharpening options. So from my research, Luma sharpening is a little bit less stressful on your system. So I've gone ahead and used this as my main sharpening setting, main sharpening filter. It's going to be more gradual, and I've also heard that, like I said, it's a little bit less stressful on your system. It uses less resources. They've implemented sharpening really just as grainy film. So if you've ever messed with Instagram filters or Instagram photo editing, this is pretty much just going to be grainy film. And adaptive sharpening really will do the same thing, much more. You can see how grainy things get. It's going to be much more intensive. So I've gone ahead and just left this at 5 as things look pretty good. And adaptive sharpening really isn't necessary when you have luma sharpening, and you can go a little bit more gradual adjustments. So definitely mess around with these to your liking, as you know, these again are appearance settings. They're going to be completely personal. So go off what you like, but this is what I currently have. And then last but not least, color grading I have set to Cognac, though if your intensity is set to 0, I don't think these make a difference. What your color grading is going to be is essentially Instagram filters or picture filters. So if you've ever uploaded Instagram photos and you've selected a filter, when you turn these to 100, they're pretty much just color filters, photo filters. You can play around with these, but again, I haven't seen a need to increase the intensity on any of them, as the game looks pretty good as is. And then last but not least, colorblind mode. This is really interesting. So I am severely colorblind. I've never been formally diagnosed. I have been told by an ophthalmologist at an appointment for other reasons that I am severely colorblind when I took a test, though I've never had a formal diagnosis. But I have played around with these, and I just haven't seen a need to use them. And you're talking to someone who is completely colorblind. The game looks great. You can increase the vibrance and everything with, you know, all these settings up here. So I haven't really seen a need to adjust these, especially because it doesn't seem to make that big of a difference on your actual menu. And I would like to see some changes made to the menus and to the inventory. And I haven't seen much of a difference made there. So anyways, guys, that's what I currently have. I hope you guys like the filter settings. I'm no longer running, I don't even know if you can see my NVIDIA game filters. If you can, I've turned them off. No need to run them anymore. Things look great, and I hope you guys enjoy the filter settings. Play around with them, see what looks good for you, and I'll see you guys hopefully soon in 12.6 when we're all broke as shit. All right, guys, take it easy, and I'll see you in the next one.